Welcome. And the question today from LL Super Ninja LL is: what's the darkest secret you found out about a family member/relative? Hi, this is Derek. I just put the Drama Llama, Fred, back in his llama pen, so that I can do this quick video for you with some of the stuff that Fred found on Reddit earlier today. If this is your first time watching our videos, help me out by watching to the end, and then giving me some feedback in the comment area below. I do respond to every single one, so don't be shy. And if you want more of these videos daily, don't forget to like and subscribe, with notifications turned on for this channel. Oh boy, let's get ready for some drama. Liz Keen Hater answered with: when I was a kid, we went to my grandma's house every Sunday, and all of my uncles and aunts would be there. One day, I noticed that one of my uncles didn't show up anymore. So I asked my family where he is. They told me that he wouldn't be able to visit anymore, because he moved away. Years later, I found out that he raped and killed 2 women, and they locked him up. Glory later answered with: my father tried to kill my mother, while she was pregnant with me. Did he go to jail? No, he did not. I found out about this when I was 20. My mom told me in private. She said back then my father had a drinking problem, and he would get really violent sometimes. She said something to him one time, so he grabbed a knife, pushed her next to an open window, and put the knife at her throat. Made her choose between jumping from the 4th floor, or get her throat slit. My mom said she cried, and begged him to not kill her and think of the unborn baby, me. Some neighbors heard the noise and intervened. They managed to take the knife away from him. She was safe. Police didn't get involved. This was during communist times, so back then apparently, domestic issues like these were ignored. This was one of the times he was violent with her. My mom is religious and doesn't believe in divorce. They're still together after 45 years. His violent tendencies toned down after me and my brothers were old enough to knock him out if he tried that crap again. I'm the only one in my family, besides my mom, that knows this happened. I've always had problems with him, but I hated him bitterly after my mom told me what happened then, and other times as well. I'm not a religious man, but I wish hell existed just so he could rot in it. Cook Speak answered with: 2 years ago, I found out that my dad had a wife, before my mom, and she died in a freak accident on their wedding night. Edited. She was sleepwalking, and fell to her death, over the balcony if anyone was wondering. Blaze and Diffused answered with: stepfather was cheating on mother. Didn't find out because he was caught cheating. Found out because he and his mistress were drunk, got in a fight, and he punched her so hard that she fell over and died. Found out about the whole thing during the investigation, the trial, and the conviction. Was weird to have a lawyer want to call a 12-year-old me to a stand to defend the character of a man I already had very little interaction and a fear of. And that was before the manslaughter charge. Philia Agricola answered with: I found out that my grandfather's first wife, before my grandma, died of botulism from eating some tomatoes she had canned at home. She could have been saved, but he refused to take her to the doctor, because the botulism was her fault. He let her die to teach her a lesson. Edit. They had 2 kids he left motherless. Baseman 1976 answered with: a few years before he passed, my dad and I had a long heart-to-heart, at the end of which, he told me he wasn't the one to first sleep with my mom on their honeymoon. He caught her in bed with her cousin, with which she had been in love for a long time. He spoke with their pastor, who told him to forgive and forget. That worked, until 6 years later, when he caught her again, with the same cousin. He told me he wanted to leave with me, but ultimately, decided to stay. Because he wanted me to have a family. With all that happened in my childhood, and to him, workaholic, diabetes, and heart attack. I wish he'd left and be happy instead. Smart Connection 6154 answered with: there is strong debate in our family, as to whether my aunt fell out of the window of her flat, whether she jumped, or was pushed. She survived, but with brain damage, and says she can't remember. Existed answered with: I found out from my dad. that one of my cousins isn't related to anyone in the family. My aunt and her mother used to work at a hospital maternity ward, and apparently a woman came in one day and gave birth to him. And then left the next day without him. My aunt decided to adopt him, but a few months later the woman showed up again, asking where he was. They both lied that he was given up and didn't have a clue where he was. They still haven't told my cousin anything. Poe Dameron Poe Danson answered with, my great uncle is a rapist that prefers underage family members. I don't know how many people actually know, but my grandparents certainly do, along with his victims. My mom, aunt, and I know at least a few or their cousins, but I'm not sure which. But then he found Jesus again, so we all have to forgive him and pretend nothing happened? It was before I was born, but that's the basic runaround I've gotten from my grandparents. They don't ever actually acknowledge it, just that Tony did bad things but he found God. I eventually put 2 and 2 together about my mom's history, or sexual assault, and her making sure that me, and my female cousins, were never left alone with him. And now that I'm in my 20s, that duty has been passed down to me, at every family gathering. It's like an unspoken rule that you can't say why, just the warning. Don't leave your daughters alone with him. I'm tired of it though. Tired of shooing little girls away and having to pretend like it's normal. Scoping toddlers out of a predator's arms and acting like everything's fine, and I'm just baby crazy. When this is all over, I'm not going to stay quiet anymore. The next time I have to be around him, I'm taking children right back to their parents, with a full effing story of why it's dangerous. I'm tired of having to protect a rapist to keep peace. Snoo Donuts 5850 answered with, my dad told me that, before my mom and dad broke up, he hadn't been happy with her for several years. My mother even had a miscarriage at one point, which destroyed the both of them. But he couldn't leave her, because he was afraid that she would hurt, or even kill herself. So his only thought was to have a kid with her. So that motherly instinct would hopefully prevent her from killing herself. Honky96 answered with, I found out my father raped my sister when I was 11 years old. She was only 7 when he was sexually abusing her. 50-year sword answered with, a great uncle went to prison for statutory rape. It only takes a few minutes around him to know he's disgusting. Sounds like a not so great uncle. But seriously, that is absolutely disgusting. BLXNDMD Blue answered with, my biological grandfather threatened to kill my grandmother, while she was very young and pregnant with my uncle. Long story short, he was engaged to someone else. My grandmother became a nervous wreck while pregnant, and wouldn't leave the house, and he used to throw bricks through the window. Eventually, she told some of her friends about what he'd threatened to do to her. Shortly after that he went missing, never to be seen or heard from again. We always kind of laughed and joked that one of her friends must have threatened him, or ran him out of town. We would even go as far to say someone might have killed him, for her. It wasn't until we were going through her boxes of photos and love letters, we realized she was actually friends with the Cray twins. Franklin answered with, my uncle didn't have an aneurysm stroke spontaneously. Sorry, I'm not a doctor. He deliberately stopped taking his blood thinners. Dude was 63 with a wife, 4 kids and 15 grandkids, the oldest of which was 13, and the youngest was not even a year. He was just done. His wife doesn't know, his kids don't know. I only knew, because I overheard the family doctor telling my dad. As far as I know, only myself, the doctor, and my dad knows. Final October answered with, my great uncle was murdered along with his wife. The murder suspect was run down, and got stuck in a swamp, shot himself in the head. The strange particulars. My uncle, his wife, and the murderer were all deaf or mute. The murderer was renting a room from them. This happened in the 40s, and no one ever found the motive. A few years ago, I took a DNA test, and found that I had cousins who had descended from the murderer's wife. Turns out my great uncle was cuckolding him. Alex Geek Speak answered with, I found out that my great grandpa got away with murder. He thought that my great grandma was cheating on him with her dentist. So he went into his office and shot him. He got away with it too, and they didn't find out that he did it, until he told everybody before he died. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking if she actually cheated on him, I don't know. But, considering he was an a-hole that she was afraid to leave, and he ended up being capable of murder. Probably. Dring157 answered with. One of my aunts raised another aunt's baby as her own. My mom had 4 sisters, and a brother, all of whom got married and had kids, so I have around 20 cousins. Unfortunately, 3 of my aunts got breast cancer in their 30s. All 3 recovered, but years later the youngest, Maria, got it again and got it worse. Maria needed a bone marrow transplant. All her sisters and children got tested, but no one matched. The family then revealed that Maria had a teenage pregnancy. Her first child was actually my cousin John, who had been adopted, and raised by my oldest aunt as her second child. None of the cousins knew about this, including John, and he was revealed to be adoptive siblings. John was asked to get tested and was a match, so he agreed to donate bone marrow to his birth mom, Maria. John was in his late 20s at the time, and had a very little contact with Maria over his life. So he's pretty cool. The transplant took, but Maria eventually succumbed a year or so later. Edit. My family is very aware of the risks of breast cancer affecting any of us. Luckily none of my female, or male, cousins have gotten it. We are all still vigilant and self-check ourselves regularly. Well, there you have it. A perfectly great question answered by a bunch of fine and honorable citizens. Help support this channel by smashing the like and subscribe buttons. And hit that silly little bell as well to ensure you get the latest videos as they come out. Fred is always finding stuff for me to post regularly. So this is Derek signing off. Thanks for watching. Good grief, it sounds like Fred is out of his pen again. I think he found more drama for me to share with you. See you soon.